Money is one of the #1 marriage killers, but it doesn't have to be. Whether you're drowning in debt or just barely keeping your head above water, today we're giving you 6 practical, God-centered strategies to stop surviving your debt and start getting free. Stay with us. This one could change everything.
Welcome to Bringing Hope Home. We're Bryce and Colette Schaffer, and we're on a mission to bring God's hope, healing, and practical strategies right into your living room.
Welcome back, everyone, to Bringing Hope Home. We're so glad you joined us for another episode.
Yes, we're glad to be back at it.
Yeah, and it's kind of hit summer around here.
Our schedule just changes. I would say it was less busy, but I think it just changes the busyness.
Yeah, you just push things out till you can get them where they need to be, and then other things are fixed, and so you shuffle things around that and
do some things that you've been putting off. Like we tackled
we did
our garage storage room, y'all. And we've been putting off for how many years?
A lot of years, but it wasn't as bad.
It wasn't as bad as we thought.
As we anticipated, because we had actually gone through it before a little bit. But you know how things collect pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. So we got that done this weekend, which was
really good. That was a big
wonderful
thing on our summer to-do list. So we're already.
So we're getting there. Yep. And so we're rocking and rolling already into the summer months. And so today's topic is going to be about how you survive your debt.
Okay.
Yeah. And we just got done talking about in May, as it's kind of a term called Maycember. Because you just are so busy and there's so many extras, and with a lot of extras come a lot of extra money. At least we find it that way. Getting stuff for the house, getting stuff for graduations, just going more places that with all the events. And so you kind of do. You kind of not only have events and a schedule, cram in May, but you also have financial things to go on off of and try to figure out. So today we're going to do that and how to survive your debt, because debt affects everyone.
Right. Well, money is one of the main topics when for marriage, especially one of the hot topics that really makes and breaks a relationship, because two people come into a marriage or relationship with two different points of views on money, whether they're a spender or a saver, or come into the relationship already with debt. Yeah,
like college debt.
Today's
day and age.
Right. And so it's a big one to talk about how to sift through.
Because we do not want our money to control us, but us to control our money, no matter where you're at on the pay scale, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you're not making a lot or you're making a whole bunch. It doesn't matter. If you have the idea that you control your money, then you're going to be good, regardless of what income you have. If you are one that your money controls you and you spend to the max and you overspend every time, and no matter what pay raise you get, you're still in that debt survival mode. And that's what we want to help you stop a little bit today. Yeah. So a lot of this you're going to already know probably, and that's okay. But it's good reminders. Paul writes in the Bible, he says, or maybe it's Peter, I can't remember at this point, but he says, I was going to write you about certain things, but I want to come back to the basics. I want to come back to the simple truths. I'm reminding of that. So, and I paraphrased that, slaughtered it, but I should have had that one ready, but I didn't. But it's just one of those things. So we want you to learn to not feel overwhelmed, to learn how to deal with it, to manage it, and instead of allowing your money to manage you, and to feel less trapped. If you can come away from this podcast with a mindset and a vision to tackle some of these debt problems that you have, we've done our job.
Yeah. And this is an issue that we have dealt with head on.
Yeah.
we came into our marriage, you had college debt. And then then we had our kids. And so,
Yeah, pretty quickly, it just mounts up.
yeah.
I remember having about 7, 8 credit cards because that was kind of the thing. And you go to college and you also start getting a credit card. And then, my credit card turned into a gas credit card and Zales because I had to buy my wife's ring so I could get married. That was a credit card.
Yeah.
And then you want to finance some furniture when you're married, and because you don't want to just
anything.
have, you don't have anything, you can't find enough hand-me-downs, and so soon, quicker than you think, it just snowballs
It does.
into 7, 8 credit cards that we're trying to tackle every month, and make sure we stay afloat, and so then you're paying the bare minimum, and then that doesn't get you very far. You see
Creeps up
that.
pretty quick.
Yeah, you see your accumulating debt rise rather than fall, and that's pretty discouraging.
Well, and I think, like you alluded to, a lot of young marrieds can hit debt pretty easy because they're used to living where their parents were after 30 years of marriage and accumulating a lifestyle. They go from that and comfortable and mom and dad can get me whatever I need to now you're on your own and you're having to kind of maybe struggle, and that's uncomfortable. We're not used to that. And so it's a little difficult there to live under your means, right?
Yeah,
When
you
you're
got to
used to-
readjust your mindset in a hurry,
Yeah.
or it can be a slippery slope, And I think we got to remember too that God doesn't want you in debt. I mean, He came for total freedom. He came to make sure that you were free spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. And then we have to do our part and not shackle ourselves debt-wise. To then that accumulates the no peace and the stress and the anxieties.
Just the weight, right? That invisible
weight, that's a
weight
good word.
that just kind of hangs over you when you are in debt. You're trapped to your
you're
debtors and you're tied to that and don't have the freedom. And so that is a huge weight.
Yeah, it's too big a weight. And I remember when we did have a debt, and for those podcast listeners, we do not have really any debt anymore. And there is something called good debt. I mean, I do want to say that, we live in a farming, ranching community up where we're at and in the United States. And so they use debt.
The cycle is
It's a perpetual cycle, but it's a cycle they use for good rather than it's when you can't get ahead of it. And you're not using it to accumulate your wealth. It is making somebody else wealthy. That's when it's wrong. But you just have to remember that God wants you free, because I remember when we were, even way into our marriage, we're 30 plus years now into it, but I even remember 15 years into our marriage. And, I thought, boy, I would have really have liked to give an extra to that ministry that came into church today. Or God pricked my heart on something to give. And boy, I looked at, really Rolodex of where we're at financially. And it's like, I don't know if we could then make the rest of the month if we gave extra. And that really motivated us, I think.
I think that, over anything else.
Right. We want to be able to give when God tells us to give, and not be trapped by that debt that's overhanging us. And that's why God doesn't want you in debt, so you can follow His plan. When He tells you we got out of debt, and then we find ourselves being able to go overseas because we're not putting it toward debt or credit cards especially. We can put that away and save it and then say, hey, we're going to go do something for the kingdom. And boy, that's a lot more fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it's nice to have nice things, but just take care of your things and, you can make it for sure. So yeah, that emotional weight, that everything that you carry with it is not fun. So we're going to rapid fire some of these, these practical strategies Yeah, so we're
how
going
to survive
I don't
that.
know how quickly we'll get through these, but we have quite a few. So we're going to try to go as fast as we can.
Okay, so this is real practical. We're getting
Right.
into the real, if you find yourself in debt, what's the first steps to get out? And I will give a shout out to Dave Ramsey. I know people are wherever on whether you like him or not.
Yeah.
His book helped us immensely. And so some of these actually come from him and the strategy that we used to get out of debt. So
Right. And you don't have to like him, but his philosophy is I don't want you in debt is a good one.
yeah.
So again, you got to find what works for you. But number one, the strategy is be honest. Where are you at? Don't try to live in a facaded lifestyle. Too many of us are doing that. We see the glamour and the glitz that is on social media. Who's our next door neighbor that they just came home with a new car, whatever it is. We run that facade all the time to keep up. And even if it's never been stated between you, your spouse, or anybody else, there is that stigma that I've got to keep up. Where am I at in this race of life? Mm-hmm. And so you got to be honest with your say, first of all, I need to confront this. This is a problem that we need to face. And
you can't bury your head in the sand and just hope it goes away.
And you can't just pray that it goes away. God, just help me deal with it. Well, you got to do the natural with God's supernatural, and then you're going to see mountains move.
Right.
You really are. So that first state, be realistic with yourself. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is start listing your debt. I mean, put it on paper. There's those apps out there that try to tell you where all your subscriptions are.
Yeah.
Tell you, whatever those are. But it's kind of like that. Let's see where we're at. How many do we really have out there? Mm-hmm. Come together, sit down, have an honest discussion, list it so it's on paper. Don't just talk about it. List those things. Mm-hmm. Know the rates.
Interest rates.
Know the rate of that you're paying back into those. Because if you have a 9% interest or a 3% interest or a 22% interest, depending on which one you're looking at, that's a huge difference. And then the amount that is attached to each one really can dictate which one you're going to go after first when we get down to some of these. You want to avoid just hiding it. And a lot of times we just have it bankrolled right away, where it just comes out automatically. And with debt, that's great because it's one less check you have to write, one less thing you have to think about. But at the same time, you need to know where you're at every month. So if it is coming out, great, but make sure you're looking at it every month to make sure you're good to go. So that's number one. Anything else there that you want to?
I think the one step is important. Don't avoid if you're getting emails that you're late or whatever on payments. Don't avoid them. It's better to be honest and say, hey, I know where I am. I know that I owe. If you're not able to make payments,
true,
or whatever, to be upfront and just say, hey, I'm not trying to hide from you, because like what we talked about last time of ghosting, you don't want to ghost people that you owe money to.
And really God can't work in a ghosting situation.
Yeah.
If you want God to help you, you got to be honest and upfront. Yeah. And so then you be honest with them and watch God move.
Yeah.
Really. So thanks for bringing that up. That's great. Number two, then once you accumulate it all on paper, start creating a budget. We have a quote here. It says, a budget isn't punishment, it's permission with boundaries.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's okay to have a budget to track where you're at. And then give yourself some margin, some cush room, if you can, within your bills. So you can have some extra at the end.
When we were first starting to pay off the debt, we didn't have much wiggle room. It was a pretty strict budget.
That's right.
That we can't, we didn't go out to eat for many years. If we did, it was a real treat.
Yeah.
So some things we cut way
you have
back.
to, but you create that budget and then stick to it. Don't just make a budget and then file it away somewhere. Keep it handy, keep it current, keep it looked at every month as well, when you're doing that, then as you create that budget, you can look back at all that debt or those subscriptions. Subscriptions are an easy one to cut. Do we really need internet? That is actually pretty pricey, but it's very important. But at the same time, if you have a phone that is pulling from a Bluetooth landline, well, you can use your phone as a hotspot. It's maybe not as good as your internet service, but it could also save you $100+ a month. So there you go. Now I just gained $100 by taking away my internet. Now I might not be able to do a certain amount of some things, but I can still survive. So you have to start looking at that.
Yep. Another one is plan meals instead of, eating out. For us, that's easy because we only have one restaurant here and another one in a close town, nearby. But we don't get those opportunities, so we have to, plan our meals and everything. But it's good to have a menu. We still, when we lived in places that we had stores and restaurants available, we would still do our weekly menu and try to go, with the list and go shopping once a week.
Stick to the list.
Stick to the list. Go when you're not hungry after you've eaten. That's a
good
important tip. So you're not buying the stuff that just because you're hungry. So yeah, those are all things. They're uncomfortable to your flesh. Right? Anytime that you're telling yourself no, that you can't, you shouldn't maybe go out, you shouldn't maybe have that, go to the coffee shop, you can maybe make your coffee at home, most of the days, and then just treat yourself one time a week or whatever you decide. Yeah. But that's a huge one that, there's a lot of different areas that we treat ourselves because we think we need it or
we deserve it.
We deserve the reward, and maybe you do, but there's other ways that you can feel special and treat yourself at home.
Right, and I'll just say it for me. For Christmas this last year, I bought a Nespresso machine.
Yeah, you did.
I did, and that was my Christmas gift to moi. But what I was trying to do is, yes, those are expensive pods. But when you compare them to the latte
every day,
or even just an Americano, I actually was saving money anytime I do it.
Yeah.
And so I'll catch myself. I go from being a teacher to a pastor in the middle of the afternoon, and it's like, no, I could go to the coffee shop, but no, I bought that Nespresso, and I'm going to go use that instead. It's still not the same, but it really does cut down on what you're doing. So that's a great one. Number 3, stop creating new debt. Yeah. You don't dig the hole deeper, as we always like to say. That's an easy saying to remember. And so you need to pause some things when you're trying to get out of debt. And so plan a 6-month strategy, a 24-month strategy, a 12-month strategy, whatever you think you need. But even if it was 24 months, so what is that, math people? That's 2 years. In the scheme of life, sacrificing and not creating more debt or not going on that extra vacation or that little more grand vacation to make sure you were taking care of and tackling your debt, 2 years is not a big, huge amount of time.
Well, and I will say, when we were really strapped, we were going to school, we had little kids and everything, and I used creativity to...
Undoubtedly you did.
And some of those things then became great memories. We like to give kids ornaments every year for Christmas. Well, that year we made them out of clay, or the homemade dough, or whatever, baking dough.
It became,
and they hardened. Made those, And so there's just different things that we did that maybe we couldn't spend money to do X, Y, and Z. But we said, okay, what can we do to still have fun and to still have our family, to still let the kids feel like we're having fun and we're, doing things.
Yeah, we get things still.
So.
Yeah, or you can go down to the craft store, and we did that one year and got a little sign, and then you started decorating it and pasting, collaging things on it. Mm-hmm. It's, there's lots of different ways to, stop that new debt cycle. Mm-hmm. Another one that I think is big for all of us is remember to walk away from, a potential debt situation. Give yourself 24 hours. Pause before you purchase. Mm-hmm. I mean, just remember, pause before you purchase. I think that's so important. Walk away from the car dealership. Do you really need the shiny new toy? Mm-hmm. Those kind of things. If someone's going to try to pressure you, pressure is never good. That's not God. Mm-hmm. And so, the sale ends today. Well, they always end today. Yeah. But there's always going to be another one.
Yeah.
So you could wait another 6 months, save up, and be ready to go.
That is a marketing tactic that they try to press you that you only have this much time.
Mm-hmm. And there's no more.
And then there's no more. That is a tactic that they teach, and so they're preying on you going, I don't have enough time, or I need to do it now. Mm-hmm. They're hoping that you
don't consult reason.
Yeah. So
yeah,
just knowing that
yep.
There's always going to be a sale around the corner, and don't even go in and tempt yourself. There's times that we wanted a new vehicle, but we didn't even go to the vehicle,
good point,
place, because we knew the temptation is really there, and we could do it. We could go into it. We really want a new vehicle,
and maybe even a need,
but we didn't want to go into debt, and so it's like, nope, it's not now. And if we go, we're going to be tempted. And so we're just not going to go there.
Yeah, it's like drinking too. You just don't put yourself in that situation.
Don't put yourself in the situation.
Don't buy it and put it in your house kind of deal. So, and you'll have to always remember, God's going to supply all my needs according to his glorious riches in Christ Jesus. So some of those things that we want, like a new car, like we were just talking about, that's a want. Mm-hmm. Because the one we do have is still meeting our needs. Mm-hmm. So just remember that. All right, another one. And this is where we got Dave Ramsey, into our lives and affected us in a huge way, is start to snowball your debt. Mm-hmm. And whatever you think about Dave Ramsey, this one is key, and you can use it whenever.
He had said to get like $1,000 in your savings and then start snowballing. So then you use the smallest debt that you have, and you put as much as you can towards that one, and just pay the minimum on the others.
Yeah.
And then once that's paid off, you take what you were paying on that one, and then you move it to the next one, the next smallest one. When that one's paid off, you take all of that and go to the next one. And
boy, was that fun.
Yeah. And
that actually started to get fun.
Yeah. How much time did it take us?
It didn't take us very long at all, but it took us only a couple months, and we saw some great results out of it. And that's what encouraged me. I got excited about writing my checks. Again, that's where I talked about earlier. Don't just let it come out of your card automatically, especially if it's debt or a tithe. We don't do our tithe automatic. We want to see it. We want to hold it. We want to experience it. And that was the same thing with our debt. So we could add that extra, even if it was $5 extra. We were purposeful. And then we prayed over those extras. Mm-hmm. But it really didn't take very long. And we were starting to see growth in getting rid of all that and really chipping away. Mm-hmm. And so that was good. It just, and in this case, just be consistent, because there's going to be that Maycember that we just have. We all go through, or a December, and you were doing so good for a couple months, and then you say, well, now I got to do this for Johnny and Susie and whoever, or I've got to help and get something for my boss. Mm-hmm. Well, let's find, like you said earlier, some creative ways that I can stay on track and still honor those that I love, or those things that I need. Mm-hmm. you know. But you got to be wise. Be wise there and let God help you on those, for sure. Next
I
one.
like the verse, just to go along with that really quick. One of my favorite verses is Galatians 6:9. And it says, don't grow weary in doing good, for in due season you'll reap a harvest. And I think that really fits in this situation, because at the beginning you're like, what's the use? Because I'm not going to, it doesn't amount to anything. No, don't grow weary. You stick to the plan and you will have success.
Amen. And we just kind of alluded to number 5, invite God into your finances. Like I said, even if it's $5 extra, God, I'm blessing this. We are trying to control our debt. And so, God, we're asking you to supernaturally control our debt.
Which goes along with tithing, honoring him with your tithe. Even when we were in debt and when we didn't have much money, we were very faithful with the tithe. That God, this is yours. Because if we give him, that 10% off the top of each month, what it does is just say, God, here's the rest of what we have, the rest of the month, that then you can bless. And I tell you what, time and time again, I don't know how he did it, but we had everything paid. We never were late on a payment.
Nope.
When we let him in.
Right. And we let him.
And it took a big step of faith.
It did. It takes faith. And then you ask for wisdom. How am I supposed to do this, God? And that's where you get the creativity. That's where you get the things that you can cut out. And he gives you grace. He does. He gives you that grace in those moments.
Malachi 3:10, it says, is the one place that God actually says, test me in this.
Yep.
If you will give, test me. If I will not pour out on you. So you honor me, I'm going to see to it that you're blessed.
And just don't think of your tithe as a debt or
as another bill that you have to pay.
Yeah, either one of those thought processes is not that. No, this is more of I get to honor my Lord and Savior. I get to honor God.
And saying, you're a partner with me.
Yeah, and I'm just giving back into your kingdom as you give into my life. And I want you to have full access. And that was really the first, now I said we're going to rapid fire these, and we have it. But, that's really what happened in Genesis chapter 3. We all know Satan tempted Adam and Eve, and I'm going to say both of them, and they both sinned, and we fell into that sin cycle. But then you look right after, and I always bring this up because in chapter 4 of Genesis, you find right away Cain and Abel, and they're bringing an offering to God. Now, one does it in righteousness, one does it in selfishness. And that's a whole other thought process here. But what was God doing right away? And it said over the course of time. The neat thing about that is God was giving them access back to the blessing as they gave unto him. And so it is right away in the Bible, Genesis 4, that's how God broke the curse and the fall. And if you can remember that thought, that you are not just, it's not another bill, it's not taking away from my life, it is adding to it exponentially, because God is a multiplier. And that's what a tithing is about. So this wasn't about tithing, but there you go.
But that's a huge part if you're wanting to get.
And there's too many that are just giving $5 here, $10, $20 into an offering plate, and you have not even coming close to a tithe.
Yeah.
So.
Because it takes faith, and God wants your faith. It says, without faith, it's impossible to please him. And that's number one, where is it? I think we had the verse where you can't love God and mammon at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And really you're saying, God, I want to trust you, but I have all of these things, so I kind of want to be in control.
That's in Matthew,
Yeah, in Matthew.
Yeah, don't let money become your master. That's for sure. Let's see, where Matthew, you can't serve both God and money, Matthew 6:24.
Yeah.
Yep. And so the last one, work together.
In marriage, yeah.
Yep, work together, and really together with God, but with you and your partner. There's too many of us that then joke around with our spouse, giggle, giggle, this is golfing season or fishing season. And, I got to spend money down, when I'm with, at men's night. You could still go to men's night, but you could certainly not have as many drinks or come home early and not have their steak nights. There's things that you can do. You don't have to. Especially if you're tackling debt. Again, if you have already tackled your debt and you want to do those things, we're not telling you don't. But what we're telling you is if you want to survive the debt
there's sacrifices
and be victorious,
that you
have to do that.
Give.
And so, work together with this. And if it really is if you have an open, honest, communication with your spouse, and they see you sacrificing, the other is going to be willing to sacrifice too. And then if you get extra, rejoice together and do something together for it or with it or something.
Don't hide from each other your spending.
Yeah.
I know it's easy, especially with all the digital things, to, and I know it's a joke with all the Amazon boxes, and you hide the Amazon boxes from the husband and everything. Because it is so easy just to spend. But you need to be, if you're really serious about this, you need to be open and honest with each other, with yourself. If you are tempted to, on Instagram, when something comes up and it's like, oh, the new shiny object, I want to buy now. And your information is just on Apple, so it's easy just to go click.
Again, you don't see it.
And buy. Then maybe you need to stay off Instagram or stay off whatever. That, again, just like the car dealership, don't go to the places. Don't be on, if you're tempted to make quick purchases, but be on the same page and allow your spouse to say, you know what, I don't know if we should be spending that. I love you, but I don't know if,
And I think I'm kind of smiling. If you're watching us online, YouTube, you could see the smile. But if not, I'm smiling because it is true. When there's times when we've wanted to spend or I've wanted to spend and Colette's like, nope. And vice versa. She would say, I'd want to spend. I'm ready to go do that, pull that trigger on that, whatever it is. And she's like, nope, we got to stick to our guns. So being open and honest really helped us stay committed and connected to our goals rather than to that shiny object, whatever it was.
Yep.
And so again, that two are better than one. Yeah, and the devil can't get in there and wiggle in and mess things up when you're not hiding. Don't hide, and then you don't.
Now, if you're doing this by yourself, that's a whole nother issue that we could maybe address in another podcast. Because I know it is difficult if you are, if one spouse wants to get the debt under control and the other thinks you're fine, or whatever the situation. You're a single parent. Maybe you are a blended family where, one came in with debt. There's a lot of different scenarios.
That's right.
And that's why it's almost impossible to cover here in the podcast. But, if there's...
But unity is key.
Yeah, unity is key.
And that's why we ended on this one. Unity is key when you have two of you together. And if you don't, let's say you're a single mom or a single dad and have kids. The oldest one, they don't have to know everything or anything about it, but you can have them still be your accountability partner. Buddy, we're not going to do this today because, or whatever. You even look at their faces and say, I'm doing it, we're sacrificing because of them.
I want to sneak in here one little thing that we used to say with the kids.
Yes.
Instead of, I can't afford it.
Yes.
Instead of saying, no, we can't afford that, we would say, no, we're choosing not to purchase that right now.
Yep.
Because we could afford if we wanted to.
That's right.
First of all, we want to watch what we said over our lives, and but we would say we are choosing because, again, they need to know it's a choice. Not that, if we had all the money, then we would do it. No, we're choosing not to do that right now so we can do something else.
We're choosing to have food on the table.
We're choosing food
rather than going to do that. But they didn't have to know that. That's what I'm saying. You can decide how you're going to say it, but I do like that saying when God gave us that.
Yeah.
That was great. Thanks for sharing that.
All right. Well, there's a lot of information here, but we just hit some little ones, but it's important, and this is something we'll probably come back and revisit.
We will.
But
celebrate yourself. Celebrate those small victories.
Yep, you can do it.
You can do it. We're going to celebrate you too, because we know you're going to do it. And find your victories in this debt cycle. If
there's anything that you want us to address too along these lines, please give us a comment. You can email us at hello@schafferministries.com. Remember to like and subscribe and to share this, because it really helps get us the message out, and we appreciate that.
Right. So until next time, remember to bring hope home to your life today.
Thank you for listening to Bringing Hope Home. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to strengthen your marriage, head to schafferministries.com to take our free marriage quiz and check out our Marriage Builders course. See you next time.